Hello everyone, it's Renee, the Practical Shaman, coming to you this afternoon with a little bit of a risky read, okay? I keep telling you, because I don't want to mislead anyone, that the Windwalker's Wisdom Oracle is a new deck. Sure, I'm pretty familiar with the 32 winds that I wrote about in Winds of Spirit, but since we got this going, there's 32 more winds, and I'm not as comfortable with all of the new winds as I am with the older winds. But I've kind of been avoiding this read for a few days because people are asking me, since I'm the wind whisperer, the wind walker, you know, what's with all of these winds? What's with all of the fires? And I don't claim to know. I have some ideas, and this is actually the first time that I've been calm enough, which I did today. I helped out a friend, and then I cooked, and I kind of am in my center a little bit more than I have been in the last few days. And I thought we would do this reading, and I haven't done it in advance, so I'm not sure what we're going to come up with. But I wanted to start because one thing that when I was packing up to come out in the desert, I was like, take the turtle whistle, because this is going to be a slow heal. This isn't going to be, you know, this isn't going to be an expedient wind. It's going to take us time and a lot of patience with each other. And I really believe we're going to have to find a whole new way to be. So let's call in with the turtle ocarina a little bit of energy for this reading. That's called to the winds. I don't know how much wind we need to call in. I think they're all here, present, attention, accounted for. So this is, we're going to do a 3-card spread with the Windwalker Wisdom Oracle for what is the foundation of what's going on in Southern California. Now, you know, I didn't do this with North Carolina because one of the things about working with the wind is we navigate from our own wheelhouse. And so for me, this is very relational. This is, you know, 2 hours to my west. This is impacting my friends, and not to say that the North Carolina didn't impact people I know. In fact, one of my contractors is, you know, finally getting to renovate his basement, which was flooded. So, but this is really relational to me, but to all of us. We're nature. What happens over in North Carolina or in LA or in Florida, it is us. It affects us. This one has hit a little closer to home, and so I might feel it because I have a lot of friends calling me, a lot of clients calling me, people that I know who really are losing, and still there's more they're going to lose. And I think we're all going to lose and we're all going to win. And what it's been really great for me is to see the community come together in such a great way to pull together, to be here for each other. It's a little hard. I don't have a table out here. I have a rock. And so I'm shuffling the deck. And let's find out what's at the foundation, what's going on now, and what is the hope for the future with this. Call to the wind spirits. So the foundation of what's going on. And then what's going on in the present moment. I'm not fooling around here, but I'll go over each of them with you. And then how do we rebuild? How is the hope for the future with all of this? Again, this is from the Windwalker's Wisdom Oracle. And 2 cards I'm quite familiar with. And sorry, it's getting a little chilly out here. The 3rd card is one of the newer cards in the deck. So let's talk about what the foundation is for this right now. And the card that I pulled is TÄté, the Lakota wind of messenger. And it's about listening with our heart. And I think this is really, really important as a foundational card about really listening with our heart. Because in the Lakota tradition, how the winds came to be together was, or separated into the 4 quadrants of the sky, was that they were all in the Inipi, they were all in the lodge together, and the wind brothers, and they were brothers, couldn't get along. And so when they couldn't get along, the god of the winds, Skan, sent them to each of the 4 quadrants of the sky. And so that, the east, the north, the south, and the west. And so TÄté, about this wind of the messenger and listening with our heart, is really at the key of what is our disrelationship with the weather. How have we gotten so out of balance? How have we gotten even so out of balance with each other that when there's a crisis in the country, that different factions are blaming and accusing and not wanting to come to the aid of people because they have different political views. I mean, what kind of messages is that, really, if you think about it, where the winds are as disruptive as our political views, as our getting along? And so I think that we are nature, and the fact that we're so out of balance is being really mirrored back at us rather quickly. So I'm going to read out of Winds of Spirit. TÄté, the Lakota Sioux, the messenger. Sing a sacred song to this wind when you seek spiritual guidance and desire to have a closer connection with the natural world. Now, isn't that what's really going on? Is that if we really look as humans and take responsibility for our natural connection with the world, we have to really look at a lot of different things. If we want to talk about that the reservoirs are dry, or that we haven't had rain, or that we have so many houses built so close together and so many people living in a really small section of the world, this might be a real call to how are we living? How are we living in harmony? And maybe how this has to change. The book says, reverence for all of life is at the core of the Lakota tradition. The stories are kept alive in their sun dances, medicine ceremonies, and community customs. Wind makes its presence known as it moves through space and time. Knowledge is accumulated as you live through the many winters and offer your services to the community. It's important that you find serenity in nature and let the Inipi, the lodge. In Lakota tradition, messages from spirits are personal, sacred, and not freely shared, even among medicine people. So this is west of me, so I'm going to read the west. It is time to enter the lodge, sit peacefully and wait. Prayer and meditation are calming forces of nature. Once the answers are clear, call upon TÄté to help you move forward in joyous celebration. Yesterday, someone wanted to gather the community so that they could start the healing. And what I felt was that we're still in shock. When somebody is buried, or somebody there's a death in the family, you don't start the healing. Well, you do start the healing immediately, but before the casket's in the ground, you are in shock. People come and they nourish you and they feed you and they give you comfort. I think that's the place where we're at is, we're in the logistics. I remember when my father died, the logistics was we had to go find the casket, we had to plan the funeral, we had to do the dance of the death dance. So I believe that this message for us is that we're in the time of the death dance, and we can't move forward until we really deal with the death of all of this. And it's a death. It's a transition. So what's going on now? This was a card that some people, when I put it in the deck, they wanted to, it really disturbed them. It's the Southwest Pazuzu, the disruptor, the disruption, the disruptor. And it's the forces of light or shadow. And it's a directional wind. And the truth is that I just found out in my current research that the Greeks made it north, south, east, and west, but before that, the doors of Mesopotamia were open to the northeast, the southeast, the southwest, and the northwest. And I don't know when when our coordinates and we put ourselves facing a different direction, but this wind, this Southwest Pazuzu, the disruption wind, it could be likened to the devil card in the tarot. Now, when major events happen, you can go to the news, you can go to the neighbors, you can do whatever you want, but when you go to spirit, you start to realize that there's a lot more going on below the surface than just the Santa Ana winds blowing. The timing of these fires, the quickness that they're moving through, the locations of them. And of course, there's a big spectrum of news out there. On the one side, the first thing people come out and say, well, it's some kind of an attack. And even my friend in Los Angeles said people were still trying to start fires yesterday. So this disruption that's going on, I don't know that we can really point the fingers. I'm sure more will be revealed. But what we can know is that if we haven't been listening with our heart, and clearly if we're fighting left and right across the nation, how can you listen to your heart when you're in your head about that I'm right and you're wrong? But that this disruptive force of the shadow side of each of us is present. It's apparent in the fact that people who maybe didn't lose their house but evacuated, then their houses were looted. I mean, that's some dark, heavy shit. So we can't just say that, okay, this is not happening. This is happening. We have an incoming president who's saying, it's your fault and, go to hell, basically. That's happening. But I can't blame him either, because that's the shadow side of me. If the wind is blowing here, the wind is blowing there, we have to start to take responsibility for where's the devil wind in my life. And it happens to be the Santa Ana wind, which is the Diablo wind. And so how is this devil wind revealing to me all that is not of the light? And I think it's going to be really clear. I mean, right now we're in the mode where we're coming together to help people who need housing. Meanwhile, other people are stealing from these people who need housing. So there's this dichotomy of going on, and that too is nature. It's really hard to absorb, but that too is nature. And I think that this is a real big reflection of just how out of balance we are. Let me read what I've written in the new Windwalker's Oracle about the Southwest. Southwest Pazuzu. And the Southwest, remember, we're moving from the emotional into the physical. So that's pretty important too, because how we're feeling, but now we have to move into action. And so are our actions going to be in the highest and best good for us all? Pazuzu, the Assyrian Babylonian spirit of the intercardinal southwest wind, embodies both destruction and protection. His power can cause devastating storms and offer protective shelter. Call upon Pazuzu's energy to safeguard your home and loved ones, using his fierce strength for benevolent purposes. Reflect on the dual nature of forces in your life. How can you harness powerful energies for good and for protection? Consider how embracing both the light and dark aspects of a situation leads to a greater sense of security. Trust in Pazuzu's ability to shield you from harm, knowing his protective force is also as potent as his destructive power. When external forces threaten, offer prayers to invoke his spirit, turning chaos into a protective shield for your home and family. One of my clients shared a story about last week. She had the most powerful dream she can recall, and in the dream there was firefighters, this was before the fire broke out, with hoses dousing her property and dousing her yard and putting a protected water, and her home was one of the few that remained standing. Now, we'll learn to see if that's the blessing or the curse in the coming days, but the truth is that being in harmony with your property and your nature, and I don't want to say that good people didn't lose their houses. They did. And, powerful shamans probably lost their houses. People trying to protect their houses died. So I don't think it's the power of this. I think she was just given an omen that her house was going to be okay. And it was touch and go. So in the future days, what we're going to do is how do we come back together as a whole? How do we come back together as a community and rebuild? What is going to be rebuilt and what's not going to be rebuilt? I think that's going to be the biggest questions in the coming days. And I think Sila Innua is about inner wisdom, embrace your divinity. And this is an Inuit spirit. And in the Inuit, they didn't believe in gods and goddesses, but they believed that there's an instanding wind. And so I'm going to go back to the winds of spirit, because this is more of the Bible. This is more of the condensed version. So if you're going to, I suggest, if you haven't read this, order a copy. And these are back in stock. So if you want to order your Windwalker Wisdom cards, I think they're amazing. And the reviews are incredible. And I'm loving learning how to work with them. I've had the little bag of 32 cards for so long that I'm learning how to work with them too. Sila Innua, Inuit, wisdom. Breathe in the winds of Sila Innua when you seek guidance and clarity of seeing with closed eyes. Now, I invite us all to close your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to call to Sila Innua. Ask, what is your vision for the coming days? How do we come back together as a people? How do we come back together as nature? And I'm going to read from this. Breathe in the winds of Sila Innua when you seek the clarity of inner knowing. For the Inuit of Canada, Sila Innua represents the sacred life force that resides in the wind in all living beings. Navigating the long, harsh winters, The Inuit deeply respect the spiritual presence of Sila Innua, which helps them find their way in a landscape shaped by snow, fogs, and storms. Sila Innua embodies the spirit of all things and teaches the importance of mindfulness and reverence for nature. This ancient wind goddess guides your soul's journey, helping you trust your intrinsic wisdom. Call on Sila Innua to gain insight and remain centered in times of uncertainty. Let this wind connect you to your inner divinity, enabling you to make choices with calm reflection. So this is the work to find our way in the landscape shaped by fire, evacuation, and windstorms. I invite you to spend a little bit of time every day in nature. And for those of you in LA, it might have to be that you're going to have to get a YouTube video with nature, because really don't want you outside breathing in that air. Or, drive out to the desert if you can to get some of our air, and really close your eyes and spend time creating a new vision. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be asking people, what is this new vision? I'm doing a vision board class in LA on the 25th, and we're also going to work on a community vision and hopefully turn that into a bigger art project. But close your eyes and please email me. Tell me when you closed your eyes, and I'm going to leave with the wind. What is that new vision? Aho Matakuyasan.